All right, so can you hear me good, everybody? Great. Well, let me tell you something, first of all. This group, and I do a lot of presentations. I've been to a lot of seminars. This is probably the best run organization that I've been involved with. Everything, I mean, with the monitors here and just attention to detail. So you should be very proud. This group is very impressive. I'm very excited. It was nice at that cocktail party yesterday too, meeting everybody. But I'm very impressed with the organization, and that just tells you what goes into the product and services that XMPie makes, equally as good quality. So what I'm going to show you here is we all deal with design, the logic aspect of putting together these really highly personalized marketing pieces. And we have multi-touch campaigns, so when the person receives it or during the travel, you send out email notifications and text messages. But you do those on predetermined times, typically, and then when they scan the QR code, other things happen. What I'm talking about today are things that you're probably not doing today that you might help initiate other things that you are doing today. This is USPS scans, both inbound and outbound. Both letters, flats, and parcels. Parcels are huge. The post office's parcel volume have skyrocketed. So this system, or there are systems out there that do that track all of it. So especially in today's increased competition, you know, printing is, and you all know this, it's very price sensitive. It's a commodity, right? So people look for the cheapest price. So what we don't want to do, and I'll talk about this tomorrow in my keynote, is automation can get us in trouble. But I'll talk about that tomorrow in the keynote. Make sure you attend that. It's going to be a good one. But with tracking, you have to show, you know, with such a competitive landscape, you have to show ways that you can distinguish yourself to make yourself different from people, and tracking will help you do that. So I put together the top 10 things that we've identified, AccuZIP has identified, as reasons to track your mail. So from the time you drop your mail at the post office until you receive that final scan, we know where every piece of mail is every hour of the day. We track trillions of pieces of mail throughout the mail stream. We've been doing this for, well, we've been in existence for 25 years, but we've been doing it since they've been introduced the intelligent mail barcode. We track for some of the largest logistic companies. There's Satori tracks mail, there's Gray Hair Software, there's quite a few products out there that track mail. But every hour of the day, we get new data in. And on parcels, every 15 minutes, we get new data in when it's on the truck. So there's a lot of really good stuff. So we're going to start with number 10. So in improved distribution planning, better in-home management and reporting. So when you drop the mail in the mail stream, you're going to know where at the piece level where every single piece is and when it's going to actually be in home. So that'll help you plan delivery of the USPS facilities and their actual performance. So you're going to do this rather than basing performance on the USPS service standards and deliveries by class. So the United States Postal Service has standards on how they have to deliver mail. So like on standard mail, it's going to take X number of days to get somewhere. What you do, and I printed out this really nice chart I think you guys will appreciate. So this is mail distributed from Santa Barbara. So when you drop mail, standard mail, in Santa Barbara, the post office's commitment is charted on here. So as you can see in the Santa Barbara area, or you see the red zones, you're looking at, what, 5 days to get to that area. The orange is 7 days. The yellow is 8 days all the way across the country. You're looking at a 14-day travel period. So wouldn't it be nice to know, you know, you set up your marketing stuff in XMPie and you set like email triggers and all that stuff. Wouldn't it be nice to know and time your emails based on where the mail piece was in the mail stream? That's what mail tracking can do for you. Number 9. Enhanced trigger marketing. So this is where I was telling you that USPS scans can only benefit and help your existing strategy on this multi-touch marketing that everybody's into, which is phenomenal. So we'll know, like I said, IMB is intelligent mail barcode. The IMPB is an intelligent mail package barcode. And they all have event triggers. So not only do we get a scan, we know what type of scan it is, whether that was the first scan or an intermediate scan or a redirect, like a parse scan. So it could have been, a piece could have been scanned, and we now know it's coming back to you. Or it's not going to be delivered. Something. But you wouldn't know that otherwise. So when a scan comes in, we get the type of equipment, we get the zip code, and we get the time to the second on when that mail piece was scanned. We also get the mod, which tells us what type of scan it was. Very important stuff, which can initiate your triggers. Later, we have 2 patents on a technology called living mail. So on living mail, based on that type, we can form a bidirectional communication with the mail recipient and the call center. So it actually creates a bidirectional, like a conference call, where it connects you. Really good in the package industry, right? So if you ship a wine shipment and you know the customer's not going to get the wine, it would be nice to know to be able to communicate with both sides. That's our patent on living mail. That's what allows you to do with these mod triggers. So some of the triggers, this really helps you with your service, sales, collection, and payments, especially when you get inbound. So there's a lot of tracking services that track your mail coming back to you, so you know what money you're getting back in. It'll help with customer service, so you don't have to contact the customer and say, hey, you haven't paid your bill. You know it's coming back to you. You can track it at the piece level. And like we said earlier, the triggers can, you can get more of a personalized on your mailings, and you can also help you with previous mailings. So if you know that when you drop mail in Santa Barbara, you know at the piece level when that area is supposed to receive the mail. So you can plan ahead of time, maybe to bring in more staff, okay, or plan more staff coming into your organization for a call center outreach and all that good stuff. So on here, I'm showing on this chart here, where an IMB letter or IMB package scan event triggers another marketing effort. So in this chart here, we're showing you where all of the USPS scans occur on one single mail piece. So you can see it at the job level, drill all the way down to the piece level, and this is one piece of mail plotted on a Google map showing where the mail was dropped at the post office, the very first scan, and then the other 2 scans, which we show there. The second to last one, not the bullseye, but the number 2 scan right there, is the final postal scan. And then the mail was delivered to that address. So we know, and certain triggers can occur on the final scan because we know it's on the mailer's truck, the carrier's truck, and it's out for delivery. This is not a receipt scan, so it's not, unless you're dealing with parcels, we can tell you when it was signed for. But on letters, we've had companies that used to do certified mail coming to us now, like gift card people and doing that where they need a signature. Now they need proof that the mail is actually going through the mail stream and it's out for delivery, and that's enough proof. And it's considerably less expensive than, signature confirmation. Sometimes that might be good enough. Number 8, accurately calculate return on investment. How many pieces were delivered versus how many actual responses you get. So if you drop a 10,000 piece mailing and your customer says, well, I'm not getting a very big response, well, you can tell them that out of the 10,000 pieces, only 1,000 pieces have actually gone in home. So that's important because the communication, just the communication to the customer is important. If you're not communicating with a customer, it's like a black hole. You don't have answers. But with tracking your mail, you now have all the answers that your customer's expecting from you. Now you can identify proactively where there are problems, whether pieces are late, or pieces are early, or on time, or haven't even been scanned at all. So high deliverability, but low response rate. This issue could be with the mail piece, the characteristics, the messaging, the target audience, or the time frame. So for example, let's say you dropped a mailing and you dropped it for a special that was going to happen only that weekend. Like, let's say a car dealership was having a sale and a barbecue, at 2 o'clock, but the piece didn't arrive until Sunday. Well, let's say half the pieces didn't arrive until Sunday. Well, then your response rate is going to be much less. Even though all the mail got to its intended recipient, you know for a fact that half of the mail didn't arrive until after the event. But the only way you can prove that is with tracking your mail. So, and then marketing and creative departments live for this information. Of course they do. We all love numbers and love data. I'm a geek when it comes to data. I love data, and I actually built, we have a team now, but I built this infrastructure on the back end it's large, big data, and we created this enormous warehouse to be very, very fast. So data is very important, especially when you start analyzing and predicting. So now we have predictive measures where we're predicting when you drop the mail, we know without anything, we know if mail's dropped in Atascadero, it's going to be in that New York facility, those pieces in that many days. We don't even need to look at the post office's stuff. We know the performance of the mail in actuals. So here's a nice thing, accurately calculate the return on investment. So in this particular example, we're showing we dropped 5,000 pieces, but only 4,824 have been scanned. We show in this one that almost all of them were on time. So this chart on the bottom right here, we show that most of them were on time. We've isolated the ones that are still in route, and then we show any that were late or not scanned. Number 7, call center management. So now you can accurately determine or estimate how much mail reaches the in-home target early, late, or on time. Accurately map the associated buying habits, behaviors, and when offers are received based on their tracking reports. So if you know that this group of people received their mail on Saturday and they acted on Sunday, right? So there's a one day or they acted the same day. Now you can start saying, okay, that message was very compelling because over 90% of the people that receive mail, it's a study by the post office, actually go to their mailbox and open their mailbox. And over 70% of those people open their mail the same day. So they get their mail in the mail, 70% of them open the same day, and how many act on it? Well, you only know those numbers based on the delivery of that mail and what day it was delivered, and when they actually do the next touch point through XMPie, which might be a QR code scan, it might be some other type of touch, but that's initiated by the customer. So then you can run those reports against your tracking reports and really tie in how long it takes for people to react to a particular offer. Then it might help you control the message, right? So you might say, you know, call to action, right? Everybody has a call to action on their mail piece. So it could be call immediately, you know, or you have until Saturday. You never want the message to go too long. You know, you don't want to give them too long. That's the beauty of XMPie, is that your messages can change and be date-based, so your offers can expire maybe a week after you actually drop them in the mail stream, or a month after, or something like that. So you can kind of, you know, you're saying, okay, 80% of the people are responding within a week, and we have this offer out 30 days. Let's bring the offer in and make it 2 weeks from the date we mail instead of 30 days. Okay, so examples, use the information and data to project if the offer is received, late, to extend the offer. So this goes to the point where, let's say you dropped a mailing and for some reason the post office forgot it. It's on the dock, right? So we'll tell from this next report, first scans. These are actually out for delivery by date, but there's also first scan reports. So if you drop a mail on Saturday, let's say, and your function's on Wednesday and nothing's been scanned by Tuesday, well, you may need to change the offer and extend it till Friday. Because you know how some people say, hey, I didn't get your mail piece, and now you say, well, the offer's gone. You know you mailed it 14 days ago. Obviously, they had to have received it, right? And they're telling you they didn't. Now you can look up the piece and say, oh, you're right, you didn't receive it, so you can give them the benefit of the doubt and extend the offer for them. So now you have legitimate proof. Number 6, improve client relationship. So this goes along with my keynote tomorrow, is that today with all of the automation, I'm telling you guys, automation is going to kill me and kill you. Because if you automate your stuff too much, you're going to then be a commodity, printing and mailing, where mailing is a relationship. Printing's a commodity, but mailing, it should be a relationship. You should work with your client on the design of the piece, on the demographics of the list. You know, the whole mailing process is really a relationship, and that's how you keep customers. So if you automate that stuff too much, then you just have a website people go to and order products. Then they look for the cheapest price. So tomorrow I talk about that. That's a good one. So tracking provides tangible information showing the mail pieces were mailed, of course, and then tracking shows where they are in the mail stream for accurate reporting regarding delivery. Trust increases between the mailer and the customer. So now, when you drop someone's mail in the mail stream, your only proof is the stamp on the postage statement, right? Or some printout from Postal One saying, I mailed it. Well, now you have proof that the post office is actually working the mail, and then you can communicate. So for example, you may not give the report to your customer on a daily basis or an hourly basis. You may use it as a benefit to contact the customer, say, hey, I dropped your mail Saturday. I just want to let you know that it's Wednesday and the post office just started working your mail. So they're probably saying, well, I'm not getting any response. You dropped it on Saturday. They're expecting business on Monday, but they didn't actually start scanning it till Wednesday. So that's an opportunity to contact your customer and to be able to bridge that relationship, which is really important. So tracking increases transparency, very important. Not communicating with the people. It's like, how many of you traveled, you're married, you traveled, and you didn't call your wife that day? Don't you, or your husband, don't you feel terrible? Because you haven't communicated what happened that day in your life, and you go to the next day and you say, I forgot to call. And same thing with your customer. You're mailing something highly personalized, very important to them. Even though you have hundreds of customers, that mailing is super important to them. So they want someone to reach out and let them know that you care, and this is where your mail is in the mail stream. Hey, just want to let you know, John, your mail just started scanning today. Based on our analytics, you can see that the mail will drop within the next 3 days, and you should start seeing this, but I'll keep in touch with you. So again, it helps facilitate conversation about the timing, mail planning, and all that good stuff. And you increase the ability to meet customers' expectations and standards. So the customer thinks their mail is the only mail in the mail stream. They're thinking you drop it off. But really the standards for standard mail, they don't even have to touch it for 2 weeks, 2 or even 3 weeks, depending on what type of mail it is, whether it's election mail or some type of mail. First class gets a higher priority. So the expectations of the customer may be way out in la la land. So having this ability to track the mail and really work with your post office on each mailing to let them know, hey, John, I got it on the dock. You think you can get that out today for me? So you have that communication with the post office, really important. And then after a year of tracking, there are some great insights on the USPS facilities and network on distributing your mail. So here's another report. So with some tracking tools, you can actually take all the jobs you mailed that year, check them all, click, okay, I want to analyze everything I mailed for this customer. I want to know the performance of all the mail I mailed that year, whether how much of it was on time, how much of it was late. A lot of times by looking at the reports, especially if you do national mailings, you can see that there's an issue with a particular postal facility, like the one in Pennsylvania or something, just having problems getting the mail through the door and out to the customers. You can identify all of that with trends and stuff by looking at just taking one customer and analyzing their report for a whole year. Number 5, inbound tracking. This excites me because this is about the money, right? Coming in, courtesy reply, business reply, that kind of stuff. Or even return parcels, return packages. So now you can estimate when payments are coming in and when you'll receive them. Because just like we're tracking it to the customer, we know when the business reply drops in the mailbox, we know the first scan. That can then trigger a communication with the sales office or the accounting office to let them know payments are coming in. Because it's done at the piece level, we know that John's paying his bill, and we can expect, $500 or $5,000 coming in because that's what he owes us. So you can plan on how much money is coming in as well. And that also helps with customer relationships, so you're not actually sending out delinquent notices to people who have mail in the mail stream, but you just haven't received it. At our postal facility in Atascadero, we had to interact with them because we knew we had business replies sitting in their thing, in their box. They're holding it for like a week. And then all of a sudden we get this big stack of envelopes, and it's like totally unacceptable. So we had to go down, we had to write a letter. Of course, the postmaster comes to the office and said, "Why'd you write a letter?" I said, "Because we've been telling you about this all the time." He goes, "You didn't really need to write a letter." So I said, "Yeah, I really needed to write a letter because it's happening and happening and happening." So that's the benefit of tracking, is that we know that they're holding it. And of course, it preserves the relationships with the customer because, especially like nonprofits. Nonprofits are huge with donations, right? So if any of you specialize in nonprofit mailings where they're going out and trying to get donors to mail stuff back to them, boy, this inbound tracking is super valuable. Number 4, avoid date or delivery disasters. So with this, you can identify mail that is stuck. And this is the report that shows you first scans. So the ability to take action on time-sensitive marketing, like holidays, real estate openings, special or limited time offers. The action may be to extend or delay an event as a result of the information. So this report right here shows you first scans. So if you drop the mail, let's say on Saturday, I can see clearly here that most of the mail, over 2,000 pieces of this 5,000 piece mailing, all of it got scanned, which I know it's worked now. Now I know they're working the mail, and at least 2,000 of the pieces are worked. These are all drill down, so if you click on the chart, they drill right down into the piece level. But then you can kind of watch it and gauge it, and to see if all of your mail has been scanned or touched by the post office within a few days. Now remember, when you prepare mail, they're prepared on pallets. They're prepared in containers like trays, sacks, whatever, and those all have labels on them, right? So it is possible that most of your mail may not be worked at your local facility because of the trays. They're going to be consolidated on a pallet, possibly with a co-packer, whatever, and they're going to ship it, the whole pallet over to another part of the country. So you may not get the scans that day, but then all of them will scan like the next day and it shows the facility. So you just got to be aware of that kind of stuff. So now you can identify and proactively resolve processing delays from the drop where you're actually proactively knowing when the pieces are going to be out for delivery. You have complete visibility of 100% of your mail. You have tangible proof that the mail was actually mailed. So how many times have you done a mailing for someone and the customer says, "Well, I don't believe that you mailed it. I'm not getting any response." And you have no answers for them. You just have that little tiny stamp from the post office that you did it, or that Postal One report, but no other proof. How many times, I want to show of hands, how many people think at some time the post office threw all your mail in the garbage can? Yes, and let me tell you, sometimes it happens because possibly there's no barcode on it, the pieces are completely misprinted or something like that, and in certain types of mail, they could throw parts of it away. They don't normally do that. First class mail, they'll work real hard on it, but standard mail is a little bit different. So then you'll have complete visibility on the mail campaign, which gives you complete transparency with your customer. And this is the most important thing. Communicate these issues with the post office. Now, naturally, you guys aren't going to pick up the phone, right, and call the clerk and say, I want to complain. So AccuZIP is part of every group, and we're like MTAC, ID Alliance, Epicom, they merged. So we're part of these groups and these small work groups that really affect what the post office does. And one of the work groups, remember when how many of you are familiar with the mailer scorecard? The mailer scorecard, where they grade mailers on how accurate their mailings are. The by-fours, the mids, the crids, the barcodes, they grade you, whether you're doing duplicates. So I'm in this meeting at MTAC in New York, and I go, why don't we grade the post office? They're grading us. I said, why don't we grade the post office? And I said, we can do it anonymously, and that'll help their performance. So if there's an issue in a particular NDC, you need to report that. There needs to be a way to report instance and problems in the postal system with big mailers, logistic companies, whatever, anonymously, so that we give reports to the post office on a monthly basis so they can help correct those issues. And doing it as a combined team, the whole mailing industry versus one person, makes a big difference. Because if one of your customers calls and complains, probably not a big deal. But if 10 people call and complain, then you're going to open your eyes and say, hey, there's some problems in this particular area within our process. So that's what my idea was that, and sure enough, ID Alliance did it. And this is what it is. So you can all go to postalair.org, and if you have a complaint, a problem with a post office, you can document it in this. I created this, ID Alliance owns it. So it's very simple, it's completely anonymous, and then these reports are given to the post office every month. Tells you what type of problem you were having, at what facility that the problem was. And we're not trying to bash the post office. All we're trying to do is help the whole process be smoother. Number 2, monitoring the USPS. So the reports allow you to compile statistics based on each USPS facility. So literally, you can take either one customer's list, or you can take all of the customers' lists, check them, and then you can analyze all of the lists. So then you can start seeing problems across the network within the post office, if any. So how many of you use seed records? So like you'll put something in there, right? So this is far better than a seed record, right? Because with this, all of your records are seed records. Because now you know, rather than if that one seed record in that one container had a problem, you assume the whole tray had a problem. But with this method, you're tracking 100% of your mail pieces, so you can easily identify if it's a problem with one piece or the whole tray. Because with this, because it's at the piece level, you know what pieces were in the tray, because all the reports show you that sequence number 1 through 500 were in tray 1. Obviously, tray 1 got lost somewhere. So you can track the tray level and the pallet level and know to identify whether it's a piece level or a container level problem. And then I just go on to say here that if one seed record got lost, that area and the demographic information is lost as well. So the scan information is provided by the United States Postal Service, so efforts can be used to focus on a solution rather than disputing the facts. So if you call a post office right now and say, I have a problem with my mailing, they're going to want information. So with tracking your mail, you can provide them with detailed information, including that 31-digit barcode. You can tell them which ones have been processed. Like, for example, when you drop mail in, they're going to start billing you now. They're going to start billing you for undocumented pieces that they show that you dropped at the post office, but they don't show that they scanned. So this helps you with undocumented pieces because we know they've been scanned. You have the proof they've been scanned. Number 2, this is a chart that shows at the NDC facilities. So this chart shows that all of the NDCs except this one, and so now we can say, okay, well maybe it's a problem with just this one mailing, but then you can bring up and consolidate all of your jobs for the whole year and say, hey, now the problem is really with that facility, and then you can make an incident report or find out, you can dig deeper into the numbers and find out what's really going on there. The number one reason that mail tracking is important, it's really your responsibility because you are mailing for people. If you're just putting it in the mail, it's like spray and pray and hoping it gets delivered. It's really your responsibility, regardless of what you do, to track their mail, to know, to at least answer. Whether you provide them the reports or not, at least you can answer those questions. Because remember, we were talked about earlier, is the mail is important to your customer. Customer wants to feel like they're your only customer. Like when you go in a restaurant, I went into a restaurant last night, Bones. I don't know if you've ever been there, but I felt like I was their only customer. I had 2 people greet me. They sat me. As soon as I got seated, 2 people came and asked us if we needed anything, wanted water. So your customers want the same feeling, just like our customers. When we help our customers, when I started the company in 1992, I'll talk about it tomorrow, customer service is the most important thing. They want to feel like it's important to them. So as a professional member of the mailing industry, you need the information to be effective. So you guys are the experts. Your customers know that. They're relying on you to get the mail in the mail stream and get it delivered. So having those answers is really important. If you don't track the mail, the USPS will not be able to help you. If you're not tracking the mail and you have a problem with the mailing and you go into your local post office without giving them any information other than the fact your customer's not getting any response, they're not going to be able to help you because they don't have any information to help you with. So being able to do this will help that. So here we talk about when your customer asks you who, what, when, where, why, and how, really it's your responsibility as mail professionals and experts to have those answers. And the only way that you will have those answers, and you're doing everything, I mean, with XMPie, you have so much capability with all the multi-touches and stuff, but the tracking part and these scan events that come from the Postal Service while your mail's out in La La Land are super, super important. A major part of what you all are doing right now with XMPie. Okay, so these last few slides, and Rolf's going to come up and talk here in a second way. So identify ways that you can distinguish yourself by providing tracking services and building those relationships with your customers. It's going to really be the differentiator. You must offer tracking to be viable, and I can guarantee you if you don't provide tracking services, your competitor that competes against you will be, and then now you have a situation where you may start losing business. It's like I was said a long time ago, if you don't provide, like the mail.dat, okay? How important is mail.dat today? Well, without it, you really are going to be in a bind. You might as well get out of the business. You have to use mail.dat so you can upload it to Postal One, right? Everything's going eDocs. They're going to start charging you. They're going to be paying more money. And I said this years ago. Mail tracking is equally as important as generating electronic documentation because you have to have it. It's expected to now, especially now. It's been out for years. Okay, so improve profit margins. This is important. So adding services, actually people will pay for this. Generating reports for them, you can add, just like using your mail permit where you charge the customer for your mail permit, people will pay for this service. It allows you to diagnose problems in real time. You can forecast delivery times, and it's absolutely expected. Mail tracking and reporting is expected in the industry, just like I said. Clients are willing to pay for this technology. You can just charge a flat tiered pricing. I can tell you that some companies to track 10 million pieces of mail will charge you $10,000, but the postage on that is like $2.5 million. So you can do the math on the ratio of what you can actually get for mail tracking. You know, on average, I'm going to tell you here in a second what the costs are. So here's the visibility. So as soon as you push your data, your tracking codes to the cloud, they're immediately plotted on a map. And then as those pieces start being scanned by the post office, the map changes colors, so showing the densities of the scan. If you click on a particular state, you can drill down and see all the counties in which your mail is being distributed to. Then you click on the county, and you can drill down, and you can actually see the mail for that particular, where all the IMB scans are for that piece. You drill down even further and further down into the 2 final scans, and there's the postal facility that actually scanned your piece. That was the last scan, and you track it to the second. After this, you zoom back out, and then you can zoom right into where it was actually delivered, all the way to the street level. So we know the piece was delivered between when the stop scan occurred, that it was on the truck and it was delivered that day, typically. Cost. So everything's driven by return on investment. If you have something in here where you have a clear advantage from all your other competitors, you're communicating with the customer, you're building the relationship, and all of our businesses are perpetual. It's not like we're building a house where you build the house and that's it. We are building relationships, which means that we hope they come back, right? So if you can make them feel like they're your own customer and you're doing a great job for them, and that you can call them by name and shake their hand and give them hugs, they're always going to come back to you. They're never going to go to anyone else. Even a virtual hug, because a lot of you do business across the country, but communicating by telephone instead of email, highly preferred. So what you do is look for companies that offer free tracking as part of a direct mail offer. So if you're using Satori or BCC or some other products like our AccuZIP product or any product, look to see if one of their packages includes tracking already in it. So you pay a little bit more for the product, but it includes the tracking element. So everything you drop in the mail stream, you can track. Also, you should not pay, well, you can see the price differences. You'll pay from a range of 3.9 cents per thousand up to $1.85 a thousand. That's your cost. And then you can turn that over and mark it up, whatever, and charge your customer, depending on who you buy it from. These price ranges are companies, not, if you go to one company, you're going to pay whatever, and you go to another company, you'll pay another price. But they range within these numbers here. So definitely do your research. This is that slide, Rolf, that I told you you'd be talking on this one. Okay, one second. So it's super important that you, just like XMPie, when you're reading the documentation and you're learning how to set up the logic, that you really learn about mail tracking. So the next steps would be research these services. Super easy. Just type in mail tracking. Post office has what's called informed delivery and all that good stuff. You can actually get all your scans from the post office free. But we have, very large MSPs that get it free and other companies, but they don't know what to do with it because it's just simply raw data. So a lot of the services that provide tracking already have created those beautiful interfaces so that data comes in and it loads in charts, and all of that hard work has been done. And now it's been out for so long, and with competition, prices are really, really low. So basically, you can use your own mailer ID. You can use several mailer IDs. You just have to write a little email that says, I approve my mailer ID, all of the scans to be pushed to this vendor. You just write a simple email. The vendor CCs you in the post office, and that MID is then added to the copy. So that vendor will receive a copy of the scans. You'll retain your scans, but then it's pushed into their interface so you can see all your mail. Literally, it gets set up within an hour. So if you have a mailing going Friday, you could just, whoever vendor you choose, you just authorize them to receive your scans, and the next day, it tracks all of your scans. Like I said in the previous one, if you pay more than $1 per thousand, you're paying too much. And then I'm going to bring Rolf up here. He's going to talk about how we use our own tracking internally within our company.
Thanks, Steve. So we like to practice what we preach. We do a good amount of direct mail. We've got a digital press in-house, and so we do a lot of acquisition marketing on our side. As a show of hands, how many folks here do like multi-channel campaigns currently? You're users, so I'm sure you use a lot. So we have a CRM like most folks. We use Salesforce.com, and we use some other plugins and such. And so we do a lot of campaign management because we'll spend money where we make money, but we don't really know all the time where the campaigns are being most effective. So what we do is we've got a call center. We send out email, and we also send out direct mail. We try to coordinate those things. One of the things we implement is AccuTrace, which is an AccuZIP product that helps us track the specific mail pieces. And the way we use it is in general, we'll send out a direct mail piece, and it's all variable data, so it just comes out in order. We send it to the post office and such. And then we'll follow up with some email using an ESP like a MailChimp or something of that nature. And then we'll follow that up with a phone call. So we've got an outbound call center where folks make phone calls to these people to follow up. And where AccuTrace is very effective is that we can look at that map that Steve had, there's a lot of great visualizations on the graphical user interface. It's not just a bunch of data. And the sales folks can really execute and strategize when they're going to contact each individual. Because as Steve illustrated in his presentation, depending on where that mail piece is going, it's going to be 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, or not. Now, given the statistic that Steve gave you, that 72% of the folks open their mail that same day, you would think that it's probably most effective to give a phone call or execute an email around the same time so that you're at the top of mind. I think the latest statistic from InsideSales.com was it takes, on average, 7 touches before you even get in contact with somebody about whatever it is the service or product that you're selling. So in this case, we'll have effectively made 3 touches in a very short period of time. And then there's follow-up associated with that. We haven't run into a lot of issues personally with things not being delivered, but I can tell you, and especially based on the costs, it's like it's insurance, right? I mean, we got insurance when we buy electrical devices. We have insurance when we travel here. There's all kinds of insurance. If you're a provider, and especially if you're sending, millions and millions of pieces of mail, it's just, you're doing all the hard work. You guys have invested in infrastructure. You've invested in, sophisticated marketing campaigns. And to just sort of throw that mail, leave it at the post office and hope that it gets to its intended recipient, I mean, hope's just not a strategy. You got to get out there and close the loop from the creation and the implementation all the way through to the mail tracking and the ROI. And that's how we use it in general. I think we've got some time to take some questions.
Yeah,
and
let me
I've got
just...
the mic here, so if you've got a question, raise your hand. And if you have a specific question for Steve, he's your guy.
So, just so you know, these solutions, you can look for their RESTful APIs. You can integrate them with your existing solutions. All of our processes are automated, so the notifications can come to your cell phone, just like XMPie. When a user touches it, it goes to your company or their company. All of this tracking alerts and whatever can go directly to your customer. So you're not having to interface with them, but maybe you do once, but then the rest of them can just interact with your customer saying, okay, there were 10 scans today, and then they have it on their cell phone, they tap the URL, and they actually see all their reports. So they're automated. Go ahead.
Hi, Hanan from XMPie. This is a global conference, and I'm curious to know whether you have any plans to have services outside of the United States and outside of North America.
Yes, we have, for inbound, we actually deal with European companies to where they use some of our living mail bidirectional communication. So when one of them is a clothing company, they're in Europe, and they use our living mail technology with one of the major carriers here in the United States. So when people send their packages back, then that communication is formed through our AccuTrace living mail service. So the tracking part of it is US because they're intelligent mail barcodes, but the communication parts of it, like geopoint, where the packages geopoint within the United States, or if it's going back, US Postal Service, first of all, handles the last mile for most of like UPS and FedEx shipments as well. And then we have relationships with the UPS as well to get some of their data to know when they're working the mail provided by the US Postal Service. And then those are triggers that people in Europe would use our living mail technology to communicate. So we're not tracking the mail, but we're communicating with Europe based on US scans. Yes. We already have Canada, like Canadian address verification and change of address stuff, so Canada would be our first, but I don't know if we've actually changed our brand. Our brand is like blue now. It used to be red, white, and blue, so we're putting these things in place to expand outside of the United States with our different technologies, like postal pre-sorting, address verification, of course, mail tracking and all of that stuff. So we have I won't even mention, I've got to file for another patent that will literally change the landscape of our world that we're all in. This postal industry, graphic communication industry, should receive that within about 3 more months. It's been out there for years, and it will change our industry, and that'll go along with what you're talking about as far as international.
Yes, stay tuned, AccuZIP.com, or follow us on social, hashtag at AccuZIP. We got another question here.
Yep.
Hi, I'm just curious, when you're looking at customers and all this data, A lot of this data is helping you just manage your business better and get better, more efficient, more effective. How do you decide where, how, or what amount of information you share with an end customer? So do you say, here's a dashboard that you can look at to help them understand? Is it a one-on-one conversation? I'm just curious.
That could be in the level of service that they may pay for you. So you can say at a certain level, like if you want to pay X, we'll give you a GUID link to your job. So as soon as the mail drops in the mail stream and you provide the postal paperwork, you could also provide a link which logs them securely into that one job. And they would pay for that service. Then they would have access, not any ability to modify anything, but they would have access to the very simple reports, which are by state, by county, and they can drill down and answer their questions themselves. So if they say, well, I want to know if this piece has been scanned, they can just simply type in the zip code or the zip +4, and it'll pull that one piece up.
Would you assume, though, that most of your customers know what they were looking at?
That's the beauty of bringing is the communication. So when you're working with a customer on a job, you can do a WebEx or bring them into your office and say, hey, we're going to provide this GUID. These are the 3 important reports that you should look at: first scan, last scan, and by state. So you bring them in your office or do a WebEx and say, these are the 3 reports. Any other reports you want, pick up the phone and call me. And every time they pick up the phone and call you and ask you for advice, you're reinforcing that relationship. And they will not go anywhere else.
We could also do push notification, right?
Yes. We do push notifications. So if they just wanted to be set up specifically on just email or SMS, you could set it up when you upload the file, or just open the job up and type in their cell phone, choose their carrier, and it'll communicate with them automatically with the total scans.
Hi.
Each day.
So I saw that you have an integration with XMPie, and I'd like to understand what part of XMPie it's integrated into and what it does within the system, how it is bringing your data into XMPie, being used there, sent back out, et cetera.
Okay, good question. The integration, working with Igor, very smart guy, and it's all cloud-based. So it's going to be where the InDesign, we do all your templating and stuff like that. You're literally linking, he's linking through our RESTful API to our cloud. So your CSVs can either be uploaded by your customer or by you. Later on, it'll do EDDM, so saturated lists, where you can say, okay, I want to mail to everything in this zip code. It'll create those lists. But the first one is your customer has a list. It uploads to our server and processes, and it takes just a few minutes. And you have all of your mail.dat files to upload to Postal One. It's literally that simple. So he's created an interface, and it's so new, I have not even seen the finished product yet. So I don't know if Igor's in the room. I don't see. Oh, Igor! Yeah, to see if it's actually viewable yet.
I have a session on XMPie plugins and integrations, and part of this session we're also going to demo AccuZIP integration. Just to add, we will allow customers to not just upload or maybe choose from already existing list of the, so it doesn't have to be CSV uploaded or something. And once they place in, first of all, we will use the AccuZIP services to calculate exactly the number of good addresses. So actually your customer will pay a bit less and will not pay for undeliverable, let's say, addresses or something like that. It's a good part. Once the order will be placed, they're going to be able to aggregate items as usual in Uster, but also we're going to call AccuZIP services and provide majority of CAS, NCOA, pre-sort, and then download all the files, including Postal One files, basically to you. So all of this hopefully be all automatic, or will need a very limited intervention from the operator. But basically, all needed files for this direct communication via with AccuZIP services going to be integrated in the Uster backend as well. Okay, and hopefully the next stage will be also maybe for those who does not use web to print, just using uProduce, do the same for just uProduce. Meaning is just help out to those customers do a manual work when it comes to download list, upload list, or maybe just close the gap. And then, as you heard, AccuZIP has many other services. We hope to also tap into other services like EDDM or those, but this is already on the phase 2. Okay.
Yeah, and the beauty of what XMPie has done, I mean, it's really amazing, is that when that list is presented, literally instantly, we tell you exactly how many records are good. So out of 1,000 records, we're going to say that there are 10 that are vacant. They're perfect addresses, but nobody lives there. Tell you like 50 are completely undeliverable. So just like he said, you're going to pay less money in postage because you're only mailing to people that are actually going to receive the mail. And it tells you that as soon as it hits the server, before pre-sorting, before CAS certification, before NCOA. So it's special logic that we have on our server that tells you that and it's very accurate, it's 100% accurate, because it actually confirms the addresses, but instantly as soon as it's uploaded to the server without doing anything else. Very, very cool feature. And Igor's done a great job. He's one of the smartest guys that I know. He's a very, very smart guy. Sometimes it's hard to understand him when he talks really, really fast, but I really like Igor and working with him.
And you take that postage saving and you buy mail tracking.
Yes.
We got another question here, Steve.
And I did put the thank yous in multiple languages, just so you know.
There you go. And getting back to tracking, right? Because the integration you're just talking about is obviously address hygiene, postal optimization, et cetera. Some of the other vendors have had integration with the tracking to trigger the emails, like Mindfire, et cetera. Is that on the horizon? Is there hope for that? Because in our perfect world, we would love it to have that mail tracking actually generate the emails.
That's exactly what it does. So the beauty...
So that integration exists?
Yeah, the nice thing about the way we've done the integration is that 100% of the mail, or the files that you upload, and it doesn't have to be a CSV because he links to any data source, they handle it on the back end. When that pre-sort is completed, that file is automatically pushed to AccuTrace. We assume that you want to track all your mail. It's already pushed there. Done.
So the tracking coming back, I can set up
Right. So as you do the pre-sorts and you download the relevant, it's pushed to AccuTrace, and you download the mail.dat, push it to Postal One. Everything is tracked. It's all included and you can pay either tiered transactional pricing or subscription, like pay one time a year. So either way you want to do it. If you're just pay as you go, I mean, the prices are dirt cheap. They have the pricing, but I think it's like $4 or something for like 5,000 pieces. It's like really, and that includes everything: CAS, NCOA, pre-sorting, deduping across aggregated lists. So if you have the same person or seed record in all your lists, it'll maintain it across multiple jobs. So you can aggregate all your data together and push it as one file, and then we sort it all together, and then all the jobs go up to AccuTrace.
All right, I think we got time for one more.
Yes.
The EDDM integration, will that include customer doesn't know what he wants, but mapping and so forth so that he will be able to select the routes he needs?
Correct. So the EDDM is a complete UI. You type in your address as a center point, and you can zoom into the map to the house level and click on the house, and it will highlight the boundaries of that carrier. And as you are doing that, it is building the list. It's available today, not through XMPie yet, but it is available as a RESTful API that we have today. It's a RESTful API. It's a UI. It would require. Are you familiar with RESTful APIs? Like it's a UI, but you'd have to use our RESTful APIs to make those. It comes up. You can add it to your website, and you do your clicking, and then your next step would be to use our RESTful API to pre-sort it. That's what Igor has done. Is he's used the RESTful API to integrate it into XMPie. So I would wait. If you're using the XMPie solution, that's phase 2 for the EDDM. Okay, I think we're out of time now. They held up a 1-minute sign. And thank you all for coming and listening. I really appreciate it. Hopefully nobody fell asleep. But if you have any questions after this, we'll have our booth over here at AccuZIP, and we can talk in more detail with any of you. So thank you all for coming.